Hello, and welcome everyone to, hopefully everyone had a good lunch if they were gone for lunch. If not, well, you're gonna have to wait until after this talk. So today what I'm gonna be talking about is how there is no such thing as purple, just a good relationship between red and blue. So who am I? My name is Michael Hoffman. I go by 1ND0 on GitHub nowadays because I don't have any social media anymore after the old X debacle. I red team at Big AI. I write Golang malware. I like breaking Macs. It's a good time making malware for Macs. I run, and I'm a pilot. And this is going to be a recurring theme throughout the slide deck, so just buckle in. So a quick disclaimer, I'm speaking on behalf of myself and myself alone. My employer does not, didn't have me come here, so this is all my opinions and my stuff. And now that I've successfully gotten through that disclaimer, I can now go on to the meat and potatoes of the talk. And since I'm already up here and speaking, I can say that we are actually going to be talking about airplanes today. Because let's be honest, what more does a pilot want to talk about than flying airplanes? And today's agenda, we're going to be talking about why airplanes are cool, how you can identify a VOR, or a very high frequency omnidirectional radial, what's an ILS, and what you can do if you're stuck on the ground. Nah, just kidding. Okay, so what we're actually going to be talking about is I'm going to quickly run through what red teaming is. Everyone has their own definition. Everyone has their own ideas of what red teaming is. If you go and Google what red teaming is, you'll get anything from pen testing to vulnerability assessments to adversary emulation, all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to be discussing what my definition of red teaming is and why I believe it's what you should define yours as. We're going to quickly talk about what blue teaming is, just so that way everyone, just make sure everyone's understanding of the different teams. We're going to talk about some of the culture problems that comes from these types of engagements and why there is now this term called purple teaming in the world, when in reality we just don't need it. We're going to be talking about some of the things you can do with your red and blue teams to establish collaboration between each other, so that way you can successfully cultivate that relationship, and so you don't need to have this arbitrary team in between the two to actually do your stuff, or to actually continue to have that relationship. So the quickly defined NIST definition, I'm not going to read it out for everyone here, but basically the idea behind it is it's a group of people who work inside of a company or an industry that are supposed to be demonstrating an objective analysis of an alternative perspective on the environment, and also working to help demonstrate real-world attacks against the company to help the blue and defenders to properly understand the different techniques and tactics that are actual threats to the company. In other words, a better, quicker definition, it's the practice of viewing it from an adversary's perspective. You're here to, or adversary or competitors. The goal is you're supposed to be impacting decision-making from a company-wide perspective, not only just from a technical vulnerability standpoint, but also from what policies, procedures, are you able to recover from significant attacks, like how these processes are actually being done, and actually flex these technologies. Because if you are never testing your procedures, how do you know if they work? As the old saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. This is a great link down here to a Red Team journal, which apparently he took it down and has privated it, so I had to use the web archive version because it's a great quote. So a quick thing, now this is obviously my definition of red teaming, and I'm sure everyone here has their own version, but the way I have been brought through my years of experience is red teaming is not pen testing. We are not there to just find all the bugs. That is a different function that is well deserved and well needed in every company, but at the same time, that is not what red teaming is. We are not a function that just goes out and just smashes stuff for the sake of smashing stuff. We are here to have objective-oriented engagements to try to help facilitate our defensive teams. Red teaming is also not part of the security compliance lifecycle. We are not here to be a checkbox. Red teaming is supposed to give you the truth on the ground of what is actually happening in your company, not just a, hey, yes, we do security. So a quick role of what blue teaming is. Blue teaming is an all-encompassing term for your defenders, right? These are the people that are your that are constantly your SAC analysts, your detections agents, your threat intel, your incident response, all these different teams combined together, and they are there to help defend the company. Like, that is their goal, and it is a challenging goal, as everyone here can probably attest to, especially if you're a blue teamer. There is a constant strive of alert fatigue and of a culture of everyone just declaring everything that is somewhat bad a incident, and that leads to problems. So what you'd expect, we're here to work together. We're here to be compliant. I'd like to thank ChatGPT for helping me make these images. That's the only AI that is in this talk. What everybody expects, right? You have these red and blue teams. We're here to design, we're here to work together. We're here to, make the company better. Everyone expects that this is what you get. When in reality, if you're not careful, it's something more like this. It tends to be where blue team has a serious challenge, right? Blue team is there to, they're constantly defending from everything. And not only that, they're also worrying about, phishing emails and exercises they're just in a constant state of being understaffed and overwhelmed. And when red teams tend to come in with this idea that we're here to just, pardon my French, fuck shit up. We're just there to break stuff and to find all the stuff and just to, be badasses. We're here to just, just cause problems and to identify all the bugs. So step into it more. Red team, generally the problem statement is more defined. Red teaming really only takes one entry point to get in, right? Whereas blue is covering the entire network, right? This causes it's super easy for red to quote unquote win, right? Because we are here to all we need is that one entry point. A lot of times, another big issue that we stem from in red teaming and blue teaming is when red team finds stuff, the reports that they're given are not like any good, right? We're giving them just like, hey, we found these vulnerabilities, but we didn't talk about the chain. We didn't step by step through every action we did on the host, why our decision making was done. All the important steps that as a red team need to do to ensure that not only are you pointing out the vulnerabilities that you're finding and the process problems, but you're able to correctly articulate that information back to your defensive teams. Because at the end of the day, if they don't understand what's going on, it's worthless. You are not helping at all. And it tends to happen where red will come in and will start smashing stuff, and it becomes a red versus blue instead of a red and blue problem. Red is the adversary, or the company culture tends to degrade because you run into this problem of blue is always getting their base kicked in, and red is over here just causing more work, right? We're just there breaking stuff, causing more problems as we go. And there's also this problem of some red teams just truly believe that they're not there to help blue at all. They believe that they're just there to find and exploit all the vulnerabilities, to find the new sexy ODAs, and that's all they're there for. They're not there to help the defensive teams. They're not there to help, and which causes a problem. And on top of all that, red teams are internal teams in the company. At the end of the day, no matter what way you look at it, you have internal knowledge as a red teamer. You know stuff that the company is doing that is bad, right? And because of this, you know where you can get away with stuff. And if you use that and abuse that and don't properly follow the proper steps of parallel reconstruction, you will end up creating a fake scenario where you're not truly giving the right signals. So now we have this, where instead of just the red and the blue team working together as a function, we have the industry has decided, hey, let's throw another team in between the red and the blue teams, and let's call this the purple team and do the steps to make these teams work together. And in my professional experience, that's not needed. What really needs to happen is we need to work together. And also this problem happens. Now we have the orange team, the red team, the purple team, the blue team, the green team, the yellow team, right? The problem just keeps getting worse. And then we're down to the tomato team, the 50 Shades of Red team here, right? Where now we've splintered red teaming into 50 different things. This is obviously a joke slide. Thanks, Jason Strange. But it's where we're at. All right, so a quick step from the madness. Beautiful view from the side of a plane. Okay, we've taken a step back. All right. So do we really need this, right? Do we need these purple teams or these other teams to come in and function as like a liaison between red and blue? Are we really that different? Like, do we not speak the same languages? Do we not have the same some sort of a technical expertise? I don't believe so. So my solution, and the solution that I would hope that all of you can take away from this, is we need to be starting off with red and blue being on a very collaborative foot from the get-go. If you're starting a new red team, one of the first things you should do is meet your blue team. And if you can, meet in person, have drinks with them, get to know them as the people they are. Because at the end of the day, they are your friends and they are your teammates. You've got to continue to do joint efforts together, right? Where you're scheduling engagements, whether covert or overt, or doing things where you're working together as a team to help each other level up. If you don't do that, you're just gonna eventually, the communication will drop off, and when that communication drops off, then your teams start to become siloed and isolated from each other and no longer you're no longer a functioning unit. And when you're doing your attacks, you need to be properly following you need to be properly giving the correct signals on your attack pass. And what I mean by that is, you don't go into an attack as a red teamer and you say, okay, I'm gonna go attack this. I'm just a terrible example, but I'm gonna go get AD. And the whole way you're getting to AD, you start triggering alerts left and right, and you just tell blue team, I'll ignore that, it's the red team. That doesn't help them. They're not learning anything from you, and you're not learning anything yourself. You're just constantly abusing this internal knowledge, and you're also knowing and you're teaching them that every time an alert triggers, it's probably the red team, and if it's the red team that's doing it, they're gonna ignore it. You also need to be making sure, and part of doing that is by establishing what I call parallel reconstruction, and I'm sure probably here are wondering what the heck is that? Well, like I said earlier in the talk, every red team has internal knowledge. We always do. You're not gonna get away from it. No matter how hard you try, you're gonna know stuff. So what you do then is when you're operating in these engagement spaces, you actually any information that you know ahead of time, you have to properly step the adversary to getting that information. Not just, I know there's a Confluence page with a bunch of creds over here. You actually have to perform the steps as you're going through your engagement of looking for that Confluence page, looking for those credentials, finding those credentials, having the steps of accessing those credentials and the op, and then you can use them. If you don't do that, that removes the steps that blue need to track while they're trying to hunt to determine how you got to this access. If you're just constantly knowing, I know that this crappy password is being used all over the company and you just use it with no reconstruction on the backside, it doesn't help anybody. You're literally not helping anyone. So a few examples of some things you can do as a red team to try and help your blue out. Monthly syncs. Get together with your teams and just chat, have a friendly conversation, discuss, hey, what are you seeing on red team, right? The red team comes in, we go, hey, here's some of the techniques we're seeing in the wild. Here's maybe some operations that we just got done doing, and here, let's walk you through some of the what we did, or do you have any questions over the last operation we did? Let incidents, the incident response team, talk about the latest incidents they've seen, things they've done to what their problem space is, seeing are they getting overwhelmed here? Are they seeing an APT hitting you somewhere? Are they, what are blue seeing? And then let threat intelligence actually discuss the actual threats that are happening. If you have a threat intelligence team, that is where I should go with that. If you have a threat intelligence team on your company, let them come in and be like, all right, we're seeing APT 29 hitting, this type of assets. You need to go through and, we need to be aware that these type of attacks are hitting, or if they're hitting us specifically, or they're hitting, or they're targeting specific credentials, or they're going after specific assets, are they doing pipeline injections, stuff like that, whatever. Just let them talk about the things that are going on. This creates a great culture of everyone sharing and being is an info dump, right? We're here to help each other, and by telling each other what our daily struggles are, it helps create that camaraderie that you need between these teams. Another thing that the good folks sitting in the back helped create, and I love bringing up, is the red-blue games. So what are these? The red-blue games are a series of objective-based games set up in an overt manner, and overt is just in the air, right? Everybody's open and everyone can talk about it, where you are setting up specific scenarios to try and help level up, or to help level up each side. It's a low stakes environments, no stress, right? Everyone knows we're there. We're not coming in at sneak, covert through some sort of an external spot. We're sitting on the servers. Hey, we're going to be in this general area. We're going to give off the advice of, hey, we're APT 29. You should try and figure out what APT 29 is doing and try and hunt us, because we're going to give you signals like that. doing this helps not only your blue team because it gives them the proper signals to actually continue working forward on like engagements, but it also gives the red team time to like develop techniques, right? We can go through and say, okay, let's see if we like, let's create something new and novel for the kick of it, right? Let's see if we can do something and see if this works, right, in a real environment. Every scenario is different, so it kind of allows you to like just placate different scenarios. Oh, I want to crypto lock this one machine, or hey, we want to go crypto mine here, or hey, we want to go steal the key. We're on this developer's machine and we're causing problems, right? All these are different scenarios you can create, and doing so helps your teams like keep learning and improving. This obviously helps spark new ideas for red. It helps blue learn what's going on. It allows red to practice operational security or OPSEC in a place that if you screw up, it's not going to completely burn your op. Like you can sit there and work on this stuff, so like you can figure out the ideas or like process problems on not only red team side, but also blue team side in a space where the end all scenario isn't you're going to be breached, right? You're actually allowed to properly run through everything and in a safe spot. Well, I want to say safe spot, but a less stressful environment. Tabletops. Who here has wanted to just crypto lock the crap out of their company if you're on an offensive team? Exactly. I mean, everybody talks about it, but let's be honest, if we did that, the company can't do business. You can't do business, you don't make money, they're not gonna hire, you're not gonna have a job, you're done, you're out, right? Well, you can tabletop scenario this stuff where you can sit down with blue, sit down with your defensive team, sit down with anyone on your hunt team and just talk. Hey, what happens if I get access to this key? Okay, what's our defensive playbook? Run through your playbook. Oh, let's roll a die, right? It's hacker D&D, right? You sit there, you get to hack, blast. And it allows the whole time this is going on, you to communicate back and forth with each other, to constantly be like, okay, what worked here? What would you do as the attacker here to bypass a defender or whatever you've got for an antivirus? How are you gonna go about that? And like you can spitball and create these theoretical scenarios that maybe your company won't allow you to do in real life practice, but actually like, see how the teams respond. And then like detection, hardening and bypass practice. Like, you never want to be tied to like this is our role as like especially as red is like I'm only doing this, but it is a good thing to do where you sit on a machine and go, hey, let's see what detections or if your detections that you've actually made are actually working. Like let's go in and like see if they're working and then see if we can bypass them. Maybe you're doing some sort of file manipulation on the server and you want to go through and just determine whether or not we can the main, maybe if you use cat and you cat the file and then you pipe it and then you modify it during that, it doesn't do anything because it's looking at cat instead of looking at you specifically entering vim or something to actually modify the file. Doing those types of different detection bypasses can help identify gaps, help harden your help harden your detections, and these can be done quickly. Have blue team come with you. Hey, I have 10 different detections here. I want you to test them, and you just go through those and you just run through them as well as you can. Blue can spitball idea or red can spitball ideas on how to bypass stuff. Blue gets their detections exercised and it's a win-win scenario between both. And it completely eliminates, like this is all stuff that a purple team would do, but it's red team's job. Like you're still doing what red team does. Like you're practicing your tradecraft in an environment. So I guess with 1 minute left, my conclusion is proper red teams and blue teams working like they should covers the purple. Red teaming is one of the main function of red teaming is your job is to be the sparring partner for blue. You're only there because blue is there. You're not there to just wreck stuff. And both teams working together can help improve each other and help improve every asset of your cyber capabilities. Quick shout out and thanks to my wife Karen for putting up with me, Mike and Topher and Jason and some other people, and my dog who got a bunch of pictures in this talk. So any questions?
Got any tips for anyone who doesn't have a red team, but you got some offensive-minded folks? Maybe you got a small blue team. Can you play this kind of activity together?
Yeah, so if you've got offensive-minded people, I mean, you can like some of the more like red-blue game stuff kind of require a bit of a lift, but anyone who has some sort of technical like offensive capability minded, you could do like the tabletops pretty easily. You can really have 1 to 2 people and then just bring in your blue team and just talk through stuff. Those types of games are just really like discussions, right? You're running through stuff without having to worry about the heavy lift of actually doing the operation. And then Yeah, it also depends on maturity too, right? Red teams really only belong in really mature orgs. If your blue team is 2 people and your company is like 500 people or like 10 people, like you don't need a red team, right, or something like that. But you know, if you don't have assets on like monitoring everywhere, like I guess that's the best way to describe it. So yeah.
I guess that was going to be my immediate follow-on question is, do you bring other people into the room for when the blue team don't know the answers? Like,
Yeah, so like during those tabletops, you usually will have someone from the product team. Like it's just, if you're specifically hitting a product, like are you trying to like, you know, hit some sort of major, you know, critical storage area or something, you have that team sitting in there because they're going to know what happens if you gain access to that stuff, right?
Woohoo! Thank our speakers.